Hey, what's up guys, Tony here, and here is the Medal of Honor Warfighter beta. It finally came out, and it was just like Armored Kill, where I stayed up late last night, and I figured, you know what, everyone said it was going to be out at midnight, and I waited, and it didn't show up, and so I said, well, you know what, hey, some people said it's 3 o'clock in the morning, so I waited till 3 o'clock in the morning, and it didn't show up there either, so I was like, screw it, I'm going to bed. And then when I woke up this morning, you know, woke up around 7 or 8 o'clock this morning, wasn't there. And then finally I saw a tweet. I saw people retweeting stuff, and it said that it wouldn't be available until 9 o'clock my time in the morning. And so what happened is I waited till 9 o'clock, no dice. You know, 9:30, 10 o'clock. So eventually it wasn't even until after, you know, it was actually after noon that I actually found it. And the thing is the beta itself was sort of hidden, is because I figured it'd be in the demos section, and it wasn't. It was in the game section, and so it was just like, you know, there was the big tab, and you had to like arrow over twice to get to the download the beta or try the beta or something like that. So it was really weird. I figured that damn thing would be like front and center. They would want you to try this, and especially gold members, you know, just sort of like boom in your face, and it was kind of hidden, and so I was kind of surprised by that. So anyways, so what I want to do right now is give you guys my first impressions, and I'm here playing with Snoov, and I think he probably got a video up already talking about it, and I've actually heard that there are people who were out live streaming, you know, Warfighter games, you know, and people are going to be making up their minds about Warfighter from a stream. And so what I hope to bring you guys is a similar thing where I can give you some sort of clarity, and perhaps, you know, if you're on the fence about this game, to, you know, decide yes or no, or maybe you might decide that this isn't your cup of tea at all. So let's go ahead, let's get started. This is, like I said, my first impressions. Right off the bat, you'll notice, I mean, it looks like Battlefield, because it's using the Frostbite 2 engine. So there are mechanics and there are things about the game that are similar to Battlefield, but they're different. The first thing you notice when you play the game, the controls are different. They're not exactly like Battlefield controls. So if you're a diehard Battlefield 3 fan and you love the Battlefield controls, you're gonna have to get used to these new controls. And it's nothing major. It's pretty much just you know, crouch is circle, or the red button on the Xbox, I think it's B. I wish I had my controller in front of me to look. But anyways, it's circle, or I believe it's the B button on the Xbox controller. It's the one on the far right in that, you know, diamond pattern. Melee is not R1, or it would be, I believe, you know, in like Battlefield 3, melee is R2 on the PlayStation, and I believe it's the right R1 bumper, or maybe you can reverse them, I'm not entirely sure. But basically, to hit R1 is to throw a grenade. And there were a couple of times where I'd run up to someone, and I'd be in a position to knife them, and I'd click the grenade button, and there's nothing more frightening than throwing a grenade at somebody when you're trying to knife them. The controls are very Call of Duty-like. They're the panic knife is I'll just call it the panic knife. The panic knife is how to knife in this game, which is R3. So you've got your actual stick, plunge that, yeah, you push it down, and you'll go ahead and you'll swing a sweet little tomahawk. So, alright, so let's go ahead and let me look at some of the things. I wrote some notes down, some of the things that I think are likes. You know, I like the way the game looks. I like the way the game sounds. I like the way the maps are laid out. They have a very interesting way that they're laid out, in the way that they have plenty, say like a Call of Duty map, or even like a Battlefield map. I mean, although a Battlefield map is big, and there are ways to get around in certain game modes, say like a rush or something, like they really funnel you towards the action. Well, in this game, especially in this game mode, there are direct routes to the action, and then there are flanking routes towards the action, where you can actually sort of, it's almost like a big circle to a certain extent. And what I have found to be, I don't know, what works best for me is that I can stay on the periphery of the map and just sort of fight there. And that's sort of, I'll put that as like a double-edged sword. It's a good thing and a bad thing, and it's a bad thing because it doesn't force you to play the objective. And I found for me the most I guess the most fun that I have is not playing the objective, because if you get into the nit and gritty of it and you start putting yourself into the right into the action, you might have yourself a bad time, just because of the fact that they paid a lot of attention when they're designing these maps to cover and concealment, and I don't want to say head glitching, but there are a lot of places where you can head glitch, where if you're trying to shoot somebody who's barely got their head over, you can just barely see their head, you're gonna lose, just because you've got your body exposed, and you might get a couple of headshots, but you're gonna die shooting at these guys. So it really is advantageous to be the guy who has good cover, who has good concealment, and who can flank. And that's just what I've noticed from the several hours that I've actually got a chance to play this game. What I also like is the fact that this is a game that Snoov and I figured out real quick, is that this is a game that depends a lot on team communication. You cannot get by without utilizing communication. There were several times where whenever Snoov and I would get, depart from each other, we would get kind of mangled, and we'd have to get back together and be like, oh, I'm spawning on you. I need health, I need ammo, and you can hit the X button or the square button on the PlayStation, and you're like, hey, I need ammo, I need health, and your buddy revives you, or not revives you, because when you're dead, but he can give you health if you're low in health, and he can give you ammo if you need ammo. So it's definitely a partner situation, and it works best if you're working closely with your partner and you don't let them hang, because if you play this game solo, I played with a bunch of people that if I got disconnected and I had to come back in, I couldn't get into the squad again, and I'll talk about that in a second. But it was a situation where if you're in a fire team by yourself, it's tough. Or if you're in a fire team with somebody you don't know and you don't have a way to communicate, like I don't, the way my mic and the Xbox work, it's not it doesn't work properly, and so unfortunately I don't have an Xbox Live microphone, and so I can't communicate with my teammates, and it's a little hard to follow somebody around if you're trying to be psychic about the whole thing. You're just kind of like, oh my god, they're there and they're gone. Another thing I really love about this is that your teammate is highlighted, so you always know where your teammate is, and you can go ahead and follow them. If you're like, where are you? You're looking at the minimap, you can't find him, and then you're like, oh yeah, there's this glowing green guy, and you see him through the world sometimes. Like, okay, never mind, I know where you're at. I really like that. What I did notice is this game is clearly trying to balance the gap between a Battlefield 3 and a Call of Duty world, and it was the same sort of thing that Medal of Honor tried to do in 2010 with Tier 1. They tried to bridge that gap between Battlefield and Call of Duty, and so it has some similar things to it. Like I said, the button layout, the size of the maps, there's so much more clutter, there's so much more involved. This map is so much more involved than, say, a Call of Duty map. But there's a gap that's trying to be bridged, and so for those you guys who have played this, you might agree with me that there's this. If you've played a lot of Call of Duty and you've played a lot of Battlefield 3, you can see that there's this hybridization. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. There's this sort of combination of the two that's trying to take place. There is a list of don't likes that about this game so far that I don't like. The main one is the menus. The menus to me feel as if it's too much. There's too much clutter. There's too much going on in the menus. If you get kicked out of a game, you cannot come back in and rejoin your squad member, your fire team member. It is very difficult. That was a big problem with Medal of Honor Tier 1 back in 2010, is the party system was atrocious, and this one is almost as bad. You can actually get into a party and get into a game, unlike Medal of Honor Tier 1, but this one, it's really hard. If you're trying to coordinate people and they don't all get in at the beginning, at the onset of the game, they're not getting into your squad. Maybe they're going to address that because this is a beta, and I imagine, like Battlefield 3, this is an early build, so they've gone beyond this. But I really hope that they take a listen to certain things and to certain people and certain things, and they fix this party system. You've got party systems like Battlefield 3, you got party systems like Call of Duty. It's not hard to build party systems. Games have done it already. Like, please heed my me when I say this, but please fix the party system, because it's troublesome. To get into a fire team in game is impossible. I don't know how to do it yet. So if you played the beta and you're wondering, hey, how do I get into my buddy's team if I join his game? I have no idea. I tried every which way to get into Snoob's game or get into Lizzie's game today, or even say Wes. We're trying to coordinate, trying to get back into each other's squads after getting disconnected, and it wasn't happening. So that was a big the menus and then also the squad system. It's just like, okay, this is really hard to do. So more often than not, we had to just back out, which is stupid. You shouldn't have to just back out as a solution to getting back together if one of you gets disconnected. The other thing that I found that is a little clunky. I mean, the controls feel a little clunky. Your player feels a little slow and heavy, as if he's carrying an anvil on his back. I'd like to see the players move a little bit quicker. Apparently, the point man for the Americans moves very, very quickly. Speaking in terms of nationalities, I actually don't like the fact that it's NATO Spec Ops guys versus NATO Spec Ops guys. I'm more of a traditionalist when it comes to, I want to see good guys versus bad guys. I don't like to see good guys versus good guys. And I might be the only one who feels that way. Primarily because it's very hard to distinguish between who's a good guy and who's a bad guy in game. So maybe if there was a color separation, if like maybe the enemy team wore black or something, I don't know. But sometimes when you get up close, there was a situation in one game, which I'll have to post later, where I was running at a guy and he was running at me, and he looked just like my teammate, and so I didn't shoot at him. But then people started shooting, and I just started spraying, and then suddenly 2 guys are dead. And it's like, what happened? What's going on here? And the other thing about the nationalities is I think they try to do too much. There is so much. It's so involved, and maybe when I get the game later on this month and I start playing it for real, maybe it won't seem so overwhelming, but it really feels like it's a lot to handle. But we'll see. Maybe not. And the other thing that I don't like is that once you select a nationality, that's it. You're done. You select that nationality. I have yet to figure out, like, how do I deselect that nationality? So if I don't want to be, Army Special Forces, what if I want to be SEALs? What if I want to be Canadian? What if I want to be, German, Russian, etc., etc.? I have yet to figure that out. But so far, I'm locked in to the U.S. Army Special Forces, and that's just the way it is. I think the last thing I want to say is that the game itself, this is definitely a kill or be killed sort of a game, and what I mean by that is in Battlefield 3, if you get into a situation, you have the ability to get the hell out and escape. In this game, you do not have that chance. So if you run into a situation where you're like, uh-oh, I don't like what's going on here, you're gonna probably die, especially if you're gonna try to be Rambo. There is no Ramboing. It is so very hard to get multi-kills. It is so very hard to go be the one-man army, and so it's tough. So you really have to start thinking about what you're doing, how you're going to do it, and I think that's where they're trying to get some sort of a teamwork involved. And the fire team, it's sort of easier to coordinate in 2s than it is 4s and 6s. So as much as I do like that closeness, that team communication, there is an aspect of the Ramboism, the one-man army that we all seem to like about certain video games, that it's not there anymore. So if you get into a situation where it's 2-on-1, more often than not, what I notice is that you die. You might plug somebody a whole bunch of times, but you're gonna die if you're 2-on-1 and they happen to both be looking at you. It's really difficult. But overall, I guess what I'll say is that I'm really, really enjoying the beta. I really am. I am concerned though that it's not gonna hold my attention to the point where I'm gonna make it my primary shooter. It's looking like Battlefield 3 is gonna be my primary shooter, and Medal of Honor will be that fun game that I play on the sides that I'm not gonna take too seriously, because it just has that semi-arcadey sort of feel. So far I'm having a lot of fun with it. I see some problems with it as far as, say, the menus are kind of confusing, and the party system is really stupid and it doesn't seem to work. Maybe it'll get adjusted and fixed by the time the game's released later on this month. But right now I can see it now that my primary shooter is still going to be Battlefield 3, possibly with Call of Duty Black Ops 2, on the side, and this game maybe pulling up number 3 spot. But I think it's gonna be a worthwhile purchase. It's so far it's a lot of fun. I actually want to play more maps. I want to play more game modes. I want to see what else they've done to improve upon Medal of Honor Tier 1. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I'll talk to you guys later. And if you guys have played the beta, please in the comment section let me know how you feel about the game. I want to read some really comprehensive responses, because this is, like I said in my last video, this is sort of a time where we're trying to figure out that, you know, is this game going to have everything that we want? You know, is it going to hold us over until Battlefield 4 comes out next spring or whatever? So anyways, guys, like I said, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and talk to you guys later.